Beloved on the line. We have Arthur Malik on the line and myself, Jaja. Today's topic is going to be the disconnection between the youth and the older generation. I think this is a great topic. You know, I think this is relevant to what's going on right now. You know, I'm just going to start it off with a question. And the question is, why is there a disconnect between the youth and the older generation? Jamil?
Yes, sir. In my humble estimation, looking at various case studies that I've done personally.
You sound a little low.
Okay, I'm talking about it. In my estimation, from various case studies I've done personally, there's a communication gap and a lack of respect. There's an aspect of any relationship, father-son, father-daughter, mother-daughter, mother-son, male-female, whatever have you, friend-friend. There's an aspect of any human relationship that once it's gone, there's nothing left. Some would say trust, but I think it should be rebuilt. I would say it's respect. Once that's gone, then we lost it all. So I don't think youth have no respect for the past. I don't blame the youth. I blame the parents. The good book says, raise a child in a way that is right, and when it is old, it shall not depart. So unfortunately, the children are born in broken homes. By the time they see their father, they're already 7 or 8 years old, or 10 years old, and even older if they see him at all. The mother has various boyfriends in and out the house. So there's no, at the foundation, there's no respect. So therefore, that's where the disconnect begins. It begins with miscommunication early on. And once that happens, it's going to take a lot of time to heal and to repair, to reform issues. So not all their fault.
So now,
I would blame the parents.
So now, when you say respect, you talking about the respect from us towards them, or their lack of respect towards us?
Both.
Okay.
It goes both ways, because what happens is the behavior that the children are exposed to by the parents, that determines also how the children view the parents and whether or not they're going to give the parents the proper respect that's due. A man asked me one time, if my mother were a promiscuous woman, would I love her? Would I have loved her any less? No, but I would have respected her less. So if my mother was the kind of woman that frequented men every night, different men in and out the house, that's my mother. I still love her. I'll give my life for her. But if that's how she got down, that respect wouldn't be there. So it wouldn't be uncommon for me at 10 or 15 years old to tell my mother, listen, go F yourself. F you and them other dudes. I don't care about any one of y'all. That's how I would probably talk to her if she got down there. Fortunately for me, my mother would tell me the same thing. Only man I saw it was my father. So not only was the love there, but an ultimate respect is there because she was a nurturer, and I never heard her curse. And she went to church every Sunday. The house was clean. So being that kind of mother, the respect was always there. I couldn't even fathom disrespecting her in any way, shape, form, or fashion. My father was a provider. I couldn't fathom disrespecting him in any way.
Hold on. It sounds like Malik blowing his nose or something.
Well, I know he wasn't there on the show. It's a Mad Men show, right?
Right. So Malik, what's your take on it? You know, why is there a disconnect between the youth and the older generation?
I agree with the brother Jamil, but I just want to go a little deeper under the surface that respect is definitely a factor nowadays with the generations that we have, but I think anger is causing the disrespect. And the inception of anger comes from, I'm angry because I see my mother sleeping with these multiple men.
Right.
The anger comes when my mother see me sagging my pants or standing on a street corner with my boys hustling. The anger comes from the parent from that perspective. The anger comes from the child when they see the father abandon them. They're angry.
Right.
You know, when the mother see that the father abandoned the child, sometimes the mother begins to take it out on the child. That incites anger. You see? And then anger comes to the disrespect. Anger causes the disrespect because if I'm angry at you and I get old enough and I'm able to disrespect you, then I'm going to disrespect you. I'm not saying that is right. And also I believe that the parents, it's imperative to understand that they once were children. And I think this is what's being forgotten, and this is what's calling the gap also. You have to remember as a parent that you once were a child, and the things that we beat our children for today, yesterday, we didn't want to get beat for. So we're becoming hypocritical in our parenthood. And I'm not saying that our children don't deserve punishment in certain cases, but be mindful of what you didn't want to get beat for, and you're beating your child for it.
Right.
And how we relay our messages to our children is very important. Just to share a quick message, I had got emailed one time, and a guy wanted me to come and talk to his son. He said he's having difficulties with his son. His son is not listening. He's being belligerent. Well, he's talking back to him now, and he used to be a good kid. So he said, could you come over and play the buffer between me and my son? So I asked him his address. He sent me his address. So I came to his house. I rung the doorbell. But before I rung the doorbell, I heard some yelling. Boy, get the F in your room. Go clean up your room like I told you. You don't listen. I said, get the F, come here. I heard this yelling on the inside of the house. So then I rung the bell. The man came to answer the door. He said, Brother Malik. I said, how you doing? Boom. We shook hands. And I said, are we going to go out to lunch? Or should we have the consultation inside your household? He said, we can go out to eat. I said, before we go out to eat, do you think it's possible that I can see your son's room? He said, of course, no problem. He took me upstairs to his son's room. His son's room was immaculate, nothing out of order, clean. So I said, okay, I took a note of that. So I think we went to Fridays, Applebee's or one of that, and we sat down. But before we ordered, I pulled the waiter to the side. I said, do me a favor. I said, I want you to serve my friend food on a dirty plate. He said, oh, I don't think I could do that. I'll get fired, sir, please. I said, listen, this is my friend. I'm playing a trick on him. You can do it. Everything's going to be all right. So when the food came, his food was served on a dirty plate. It was very dirty. His plate was filthy. So he went belligerent. Waiter, come here. What are you doing? His plate is dirty. Let me see your manager. What are you doing? He was outraged. So I said, go down. What's wrong? He said, do you think it's possible you can change this plate to a cleaner plate? Please. He changed it. We ate. We left. We went back to his house. And I said, I have urgent business to take care of. I have to leave. Right? So he said, whoa. I'm paying you to speak to me and my son. You haven't said anything to my son yet. What is the problem between me and my son? I said, let me ask you a question, sir. He said, yes. I said, why did you become belligerent when that waiter served you on a dirty plate? He said, because it was dirty. You can't serve a customer on a dirty plate and expect them to eat it. I said, likewise, when you serve your son some pertinent information, you can't serve it to him on a dirty plate. So it's important how we communicate with our children if we want them to receive the food that we give them.
That's profound right there. That's definitely profound, and the delivery is very important. Now, my take on it is also the influence. I think that when our children don't admire us, when they don't look up to us, it's gonna breed disrespect. Right now you have a lot of our youth, teenagers, a lot of youth in their younger 20s, that they're heavily influenced by rappers and R&B artists. And, they watch them on TV, they see the videos, they see them making money, they listen to the interviews, they see them driving fancy cars, and they want that. So if you're a man and you have a job and you have a son and your son don't admire you for your occupation or the work that you do, then he's probably going to be influenced by somebody else. I could think of a time when me and Malik was in the basement and we were talking to about maybe 15 to 17, young black youth. And when we went around the room and we asked everybody, what they wanted to do or what they wanted to be, I say about 90% of them said they wanted to be a rapper. You know, some said, oh, I want to make my own clothes. You had a couple of females in there said, oh, I want to be a singer. But I don't think that they came from a line of singers, rappers, and people who made clothes. So I don't think nobody in there was inspired to do what their parents did. Everybody was influenced by what they seen on TV and, you know, what they heard on the radio. So I think a lot of times if we don't be admirable to our youth, you know, we could lose them and have them influenced by something on the outside instead of being influenced by what's going on in the home. What you think, Jamil? Yeah.
Okay, this is Malik, but do you think it's possible, John, that sometimes, what I see too, is sometimes the parents over-influence their children to become what they want them to be? And just because they're saying that they want to be rappers and singers doesn't mean that they didn't inherit the ambition of their parents, but not the particular work area. You see, because I can inherit your ambition as a parent. I can see you, Jaja. Look at my father, Jaja. He's a workhorse. He got that ambition. He's gonna work. He's gonna bring the food, and he's gonna make sure he works. He's gonna be that father figure for me. So I can emulate that ambition, but I may not wanna have a moving business. I may not wanna paint. I may not wanna fix cars, but I still have that ambition that my father instilled in me.
Right. No, you're absolutely correct. You know, you're absolutely correct. Like, you know, in the case with my son always seen me make money. So he don't do exactly what I do, but you're 100% correct. His ambition is the same as mine. It's like he's always on it. He's always working. He's always trying to get a dollar because he know this is what's needed if you want to have a better quality of life.
Right. So
that the ambition is definitely important. But it's not that we over influence. I think it's that we tell our children what they should be doing instead of asking them what would they like to do.
Right.
You know, we tend to talk at them instead of talking to them. So we say things to them and we expect for them not to respond. We expect for them to just listen. So, you know, I wouldn't push my son to be an artist if I know he can't draw. If I know drawing is not his gift. You know, if I have a daughter and she got 2 left feet, you know, like, why would I now try to push her to be a dancer? You know, that really wouldn't make sense. So I think we need to observe our youth and we need to listen to them and see what it is that they want to do and then try to cultivate their gifts and their talents to, you know, so that way they could put energy into what they trying to do in, you know, in terms of them using their own mind.
Right. That's important.
Right. What you think, Jamil?
I'm in agreement with the rest of the panel. It's very important that we inspire our youth. Again, with the child in the way that it is life, when there is always something hard. It's not going to always work out that way. I mean, that's the ideal. My father was a pastor. Ministry is definitely not me at this point in my life. My father was also a doorman in the building of 789 Martin Avenue. The fact I just saw him work every day was an inspiration. He didn't have to be an astronaut, rocket scientist. He didn't have to be the CEO of Fortune 100 company. I saw the man work in the building every day. Every day he moved to work. So that kind of taught me, without telling me, he's supposed to work. My mother didn't have to work. So that kind of gave me an image where a man was supposed to be. So,
hold on. That explains a lot. Go ahead, continue.
Of course. Absolutely. You know, if my father didn't work and he pecked my mother, I might be a pimp right now. I mean,
right.
I was a master psychologist. So, but I didn't have that dynamic in my house. My mother didn't have to work, which is a wonderful thing. At St. Mark's Avenue, the store I was on, it was something to behold. It used to be called Millionaire's Row. So, I mean, everything was lovely. So it was like a comedy childhood, so to speak, like a fairy tale almost compared to what I see youth have today. You know, and nobody was rich. It wasn't rich. We just had law and order. You know, and that's a lot of respect. You know, respect was maintained at all costs. I think we just don't have it today, unfortunately.
Right, but I think also we up against a lot more. Back then they didn't have the music video. The first music videos I saw on TV, on MTV, was rock and roll. And rock and roll, it wasn't glorified. The lavish life wasn't glorified in rock and roll videos. So the influence wasn't really on TV. We had shows like The Brady Bunch, Happy Days. We had shows like Good Times, The Jeffersons.
Lost in Space.
Right, Lost in Space, stuff like that. Cartoons, on Honeymooners. On Saturdays, it was Kung Fu flicks. So on TV, a lavish lifestyle wasn't really glorified.
But then again, you had Dallas, and that was the glorification of wealth, nighttime.
Right, but children. But if you think about it, children didn't watch Dallas.
Right.
Matter of fact, my father, back then, Dallas was almost like the nighttime story. Right. So when I was growing up, my father told me Dallas was almost like the nighttime story. Right. So when I was growing up, my father told me soap operas was for women. So I'm thinking, if soap operas is for women, then I shouldn't be watching this. So I can't be inspired by that anyway, because it was a lot of bravado back then. What women did, men just wasn't into.
Right. But I think there's a lot more obstacles nowadays, though. So many more obstacles, and not counting the obstacles that we stand in our own way. I'm not even talking about that obstacle. But back in the days, if you remember, we ate dinner. Even when I was staying with us, your father cooked and made sure we came in the house and ate dinner together.
Right.
So we wasn't sitting on the steps eating Chinese food and doing all that crazy stuff. We was eating as a family. So the unit structure was more productive back then than it is today. But I can understand, because then the crack era came and things like that, and it eradicated, so to speak, our bond, our familyhood. You know what I'm saying? It tore it apart. The crack ever tore our family structure apart.
Right.
And nowadays, like you just said, we can include now the rap music, the syrup, the scissor that they drinking, and all this other crazy stuff. But I think we was eating together, and that just held us together even stronger, man. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's imperative. Now, if we start that now, we need to bring that together. Yeah, you need to bring that back. Eat together as a family, man. Eat together as a family with so many people act like they busy, and we busy doing nothing.
Right. Now, I'm glad, too, that you brought up the crack era, too, because that's very, very, very important. I can remember growing up, I spent a lot of time with my father, and my father had a lot of friends, friends from the neighborhood that he grew up with, that he came up with. And all of his friends was somewhat like my uncles. That's the way I looked at them, like they was family. But they were what I thought was strong black men. And, they used to have intellectual conversations, and those conversations would appeal to me. But then around 1985 and 1986, these same men that I looked up to, I say 95% of them fell victim to crack. And that's like, that caused you to be like, wow. Like, hold on, this man right here who I looked up to, he was like the strongest man in the world to me, fell victim to something so small. That right there causes the youth to disrespect them too. Next thing you know, the man you looked up to him, he's a crackhead, and you hitting him in the head with a bottle.
You know why? Because we so ungrateful for what people give us. You see, we got to remember that those same crackheads, those same dope fiends, these are the ones that was giving us quarters and 50 cents and dollars, and they was giving us some information that we didn't have.
Right.
But now when they become these crackheads, we debase them. We debase them now because they debase themselves, and we forget what they gave us. And that's unfair. We got to be appreciative for someone to give us something that's conducive and constructive.
Right. Yeah. So what you think? What you think about that, Jamil?
About the ingratitude?
Yeah, the ingratitude and the surge in the drug era.
I just got a phone call from from my ex-wife or my son. We live in an age of entitlement. The children believe that they owe something other than food, clothing, and shelter and 200 kids, and I love you. And in terms of the crack era, well, that utterly destroyed us. The same with the heroin era. It just utterly destroyed us. You know, that's what it was designed to do. The Rockefeller laws that destroyed us, that took all of our homes 25, 30 years. You know, first-time offender, he's bring a package from, you know, across the street. He's right across the street. And you hands up in 1970, come home and he gets 2,000. I mean, this is outrageous. You know, and this is what happened. And so now when you have a home that's lacking that male influence, that righteous male influence, all the time, there's some hard and dark things ahead. You know, and so that's how we arrived at where we're at. In terms of solutions, we have to go back to that male-headed household. A household that daddy sits at the head of the table. You know, everybody has a role to play and they play their role to the fullest. Until we get back to man, woman, and child, we're going to always suffer.
Okay, so the man being at the head of the household. So if we are discussing how maybe in the 60s and 70s the man was at the head of the table, then how did we lose that? Like, what happened?
I told you, Rockefeller laws and feminism. I think feminism is more evil than racism. I mean, the idea that a woman doesn't need a man is beyond absurd. And yet, many women feel like, listen, I'm pretty good by myself. I'm paralegal, make about $90,000 a year. A dildo, got a female friend, she services me, bisexual. You know, I'm good. I don't need no man for anything. You know, and once you get that in her head, you know, she's like, listen, my children are in private school, you know, we go on vacations, and I'm good. Now, intelligent people know you can't replace a man with a dildo or a female. So if she's not lacking sexually speaking, or she's not lacking financially speaking, those children are lacking. They need mom and dad. It's in balance. So she's making $190,000 a year. Still gonna be in a balance. She may buy a child a Benz for his birthday when he's 16. Still in a balance. A child may go to Harvard. Still in a balance. So you can't fix it any other way than to bring that old-fashioned way back in order to fix that.
But
and you know, man, woman, child.
You know what's amazing is that some parents think because they buy their children fly gear that they're a good parent.
Right.
Some people are setting their children up for failure because all they give them is fly gear and they don't instill in them anything informative mentally. See, so now when the parent reach their demise or whatever, and this children is in a hard situation, or this child is in a hard situation, and they can no longer afford these Jordans, red bottom shoes, what kind of jeans, True Religion jeans, Joe jeans, whatever kind of jeans, expensive jeans and shoes they can no longer afford, then what do they do? They're going to succumb to the streets to try to provide themselves with this particular gear. And what you're doing, parents, you're setting your children up when you just give them nice clothes, and nothing mentally. If you don't give them nothing upstairs, you're setting them up for failure. I mean, there was an incident, a dude was on death row. He's on death row. And they asked him, what are your last regrets? What do you want? What do you wish? What do you want? What do you want for your last, before you die? What do you want? What do you want to ask for? He said, all I want to do is see my mother, and I want a pen and a piece of paper. I said, wow, that's it? Okay, we could give you that. So they brought his mother to see him. They took the handcuffs off when he came in, boom. He sat down, his mother sat down, he picked up the pen, and the piece of paper was in front of him. He took the pen and began to stab his mother in the eyes. And when the COs jumped on him after the confrontation stopped, asked him, why would you do something like that to your own mother? Why would you stab in the eyes? What was the purpose? Daddy. He said, because she seen me do many things as a young child and didn't stop me. So today I sit here because of her. I'm on death row.
Nah, that's real, and and going back to what you said about what the parents give their children, or what they don't give their children outside of nice, fancy designer clothes. When I reflect, my father passed away 31 years ago, and right now I can't remember nothing he ever bought me, but I can remember most of what he ever told me.
Heck yeah.
And I remember one time my father sent me to the store. I was maybe about 8 or 9 years old. He sent me to the store to get him a Heineken. And I went to the store, and the store that I went to, they was out of Heinekens. So I came back, and I said, and he said, where's my Heineken? And I said, I went to the store, but they didn't have no Heinekens. And he said to me, well, how many stores did you go to? And it hit me because he just said, go to the store. I went to the store. They didn't have a Heineken. I came back without it. And, he kind of scolded me because I came back without it. So one thing I learned from my father is to be thorough. When you go on a mission, you don't stop until that mission is complete. So he sent me back to the store, and he said, I don't care how many stores you got to go to, don't come back without my Heineken. So that lesson right there, even though it was a Heineken, I mean, of course, sending a child to the store to get a beer is a little crazy, but the lesson in it was profound. So that right there is why I'm so thorough right now. When I'm on a mission, both of y'all know when I have something in my mind, I chase it and chase it and chase it until it's done. And I learned that from my father, but I can't remember specifically nothing he ever bought me, but I can remember most of what he told me or what he taught me.
You know what's so profound about that, guy, what you just said? You just said, so I know it's a beer or whatever. And some people, this is why I like to give the analogy about the peacock. Mm-hmm. Because the peacock is one of the most precious, prettiest birds that you can see is the peacock. But some people overlook the feathers just to look at the ugly feet of the peacock. Because peacock got ugly feet.
Right.
You see, but this story ain't about the ugly feet. So leave the impression about the beer out your mind. Because someone was listening now, how he sent this child to the store to get a beer. Leave the beer impression out your mind and look at the pretty feathers of the story that John just relayed. You see, now because he sent him to the store for a beer, of course, okay, maybe he shouldn't have did that. But just look at the concept of the story. Mm-hmm. Now that ambition follows you all the way to adulthood.
Right.
You see, so now you're not going to the store for beer. You're going to the store for furniture. You're going to the store so you can buy houses. You're going to the store for something productive and productive. But if it wasn't for that particular act, you probably would have been, going to the store for beers right now in your old age.
Right.
So please, people, look at the feathers of the peacock and not the peacock's feet.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Yeah, so in terms of the disconnect, I think also, like you said in the beginning, our delivery towards the youth, it makes them mad and it makes them angry, and in that anger, it clouds their vision, it clouds their ability to see what we're trying to tell them, and it makes them rebel. I was talking to a young brother one time, and he's 17 years old, and I know he lives in a neighborhood where there's gangs. So I asked him, I said, are you in a gang? And he said, why you asking me that? And I said, because I know you live in a neighborhood where there's gangs, and most of the time, young people are influenced by their environment. So, he didn't really want to tell me. So I said, well, you see, I have on a red T-shirt. I'm a blood. He said, oh, you a blood? Now, once I told him, even though I lied to him and told him I was in a gang, now he wanted to open up. and now tell me, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'm affiliated, and this and that and this and that. But I just wanted him to tell me, his background, so that way I would know how to better relate to him. And I think that's what we're missing as the older generation, is how to communicate with them and how to get young people to open up.
I agree.
Matter of fact,
I agree with that 100%.
Y'all could go upstairs.
Because of course, I know when I was 12 or 13 years old, we did a lot of stuff. We smoked weed, we stole out of stores and all that kind of stuff. But around my mother and my father, I was still a child, and I acted like a child. But when I was out on the street as a teenager, I acted like an adult. So, a lot of times, you want to have your child, be able to open up to you, so you know who this child really is, so you know how to communicate to him and how to guide him, through life.
But I think one of the things too was also an obstacle in that aspect is that there's children having children. You see, there's children having children, so they don't know how to really raise a child because they're still children themselves. But and I think if we can just reinstitute the fact that back in the day, you just mentioned, you mentioned our old neighborhood, and you mentioned the uncles that your father friends or my father friends or your mother friends, but they were our extended family. See, the family just didn't consist in the household.
Right.
The family also extended when you walk out that front door and somebody see you doing something in the store, they can brush you behind. They can give you a beating. No relation. No relation. But if they're adult and they catch you in the wrong, they can snake you behind and bring you home to your mother and you'll get another one. Your mother and father, and you'll get another beating.
Right.
When this transpired today, we'll be reading on the news, or adult just got his hand blown off because he beat a young guy that he didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to try to reestablish these things too, but I think we have to work on ourselves. I think so many people just reflect on others, man, and don't do no introspection. If we do more introspection, I think everything else would be all right.
Right. You said introspection?
Yes.
What does that word mean?
Introspection means to look in yourself, to look within yourself.
Okay. Yeah, I just learned something. Jamil, you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, you have your youngest son. How old is he?
My youngest son is 15.
You took a long time to answer that. We're going to ask you some more questions behind that one. We're going to ask you a couple more questions behind that one.
Mad Men Talk Show.
So now your 15-year-old son, what do you think he's who do you think he's most influenced by?
His mother. That's who he lives with.
Right. Yeah,
I know a whole lot of people who live with their parents and ain't influenced by them.
Right.
Oh, no, in his case, he's definitely influenced by his mother. Okay. Just like his rock. That's just like the right hand right there.
Okay, so that's good. That's good to be influenced by somebody in the household, instead of being influenced by the streets or what you're watching on TV.
That's excellent.
Mm-hmm. And I think, most young people, who have parents that keep them close, I think that's really important, because when you keep your children close, it's more than likely they won't have too many outside influences.
Right.
Because influence is way more powerful than money.
But then again, like you said, Jack, the only way to keep them close is that you got to know how to communicate with them. Because if you keep talking at them, and not to them, eventually they ain't gonna want to be kept close.
Right.
So they gonna run from you. Every chance they get, they gonna run from you. Like that, the communication is very important, man.
Right, because I hear some parents say, you can't be your child's friend.
I disagree with that.
No, I disagree too, wholeheartedly.
1,000% I disagree.
It's an order of operation. Now, friend first. Friend first, you mentioned father first, friend second.
Right. I hear some feedback. I don't know what that is.
That's on my end. That's on my end, no.
Okay. Yeah, so you said father first, friend second.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's of course. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
But friend must be included.
It's not always implicit. It's not always implicit. Because usually when it comes to single mothers, they're more in friendship mode, and then they find themselves getting taken advantage of quite frequently. So they're more like that, they become powerful. You see like a child is raised by one.
I'm hearing some feedback. What is that?
That's not me.
Feedback?
Yeah, I'm hearing some like a scratching sound.
Yeah, I do too. It's not me.
Okay.
Like when you have a mother-son situation, they usually pal. It's just them in the house. They pals and buddies, They can do things that the son knows he can do things. He probably wouldn't be able to do his father. So that's like the situation. And then we go back to that imbalance. You have to be careful with that imbalance because it kind of leaves you in your adulthood as still not being a whole person. You're not complete. That's problematic. Because now, when you meet a woman, she ain't gonna have to play mommy to you. That's what you're used to. Create psychological problems.
Right. And see me with the way I deal with my children, I don't never make them think that they're in trouble about anything they do. Because, my job is to guide them. I think both of y'all seen the video when my youngest daughter was 2 years old and somebody wrote on the wall.
Well, I saw that one.
Yeah, and when she thought she was in trouble, she said, "Oh, that wasn't me. That was my sister who wrote on the wall." And then when I told her, whoever did that, they did a good job. That's nice. And then she said, "Oh, Daddy, that was me."
I saw that.
So right? Yeah, she wanted the credit. She wanted the credit then.
Only when there's no punishment involved.
Right, but see that's the same thing when you're dealing with a young adult or even an adult. If a person thinks they're in trouble, they're gonna try to lie to get themselves out of trouble. My job is to make sure that if any one of my children happen to get in trouble, I have to get them out of this trouble. So they're gonna have to be honest with me. So I would know what strategy to use to get them out of this trouble.
Right.
So my children, my wife told me that I have a strange relationship with my son because ever since he was a teenager, he was always open and honest with me. It could have been about sex. It could have been about women. It could have been about, him getting into a fight in the street. It could have been about anything. And most oftentimes children, they lie to their parents when they think they in some kind of trouble or if they think you're going to punish them. But see, with my children, I don't make them think that anything that they do, I'm going to be the one that's going to punish them. I'm the one that's going to guide them so that way this don't happen again. In order for me to do that, I have to know the facts. So if my son go out there and he robs somebody, I have to know. I can't let my son say, "Oh, Daddy, it wasn't me. It was my friends. I was just there." No, I need to know that my son has the capability of going out there, hitting somebody in the head and taking their money. So that way now I have to be able to use a strategy to reverse this kind of behavior.
Right.
So, all of my children, they're honest with me. Whenever a problem comes up, they call me, they talk to me, and then I could guide them through, this crazy thing called life.
That's a wonderful list to have with your children.
Mm-hmm.
I applaud that to the fullest. Because there's a certain level of comfortability they have with you.
Right.
And they know that, okay, I can come to my father with anything, no matter what happens. So that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very positive show.
Right. So, yeah, we're coming up on the last couple of minutes of the show. So, we could do our closing remarks and we can close this show out. Any closing remarks, beloved?
Absolutely. We have to completely eradicate feminism. We must obliterate it from the face of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
One of the greatest evils known to man. We must return to man, woman, and child. Men must be men. They must be providers and maintainers and protectors of their family at all costs. There are no excuses. Anything short of doing is an excuse. And restore law and order. No one's coming to save us. We must save ourselves.
Right.
And I know I'll say peace.
Okay. Arthur Malik, in closing remarks?
Yeah, I would just say to the youth, man, I understand your struggle and I understand your pain because I was there also. But sometimes it's great, man, to listen to some adults, man, because you don't want to end up, man, in a hole that you can't dig yourself out of. You know, I did a lot of time in prison, and it was because of anger, man, and rebelling, man, and frustration. And so I don't want anyone to walk down that particular path, man, when you don't have to. Sometimes it's going to hurt you. If it's something constructive, even though it may not be from the person that you like or whatever that you respect, sometimes listen, receive it, man. Because, and remember, when it comes to elders, you're trying to get to where they're at in age. You see? So you have to use wisdom. You have to use wisdom. You have to use respect to get to that particular stage. And to the adults or to the parents, I just want to leave you with this. A child doesn't care how much you know until first they know how much you care. Let's begin to care. Peace.
Peace.